Can you imagine cutting some trees on your property or firewood and discovering beautiful figure like this? Well, we're gonna do a little exploring and crack open a few pieces that I found right on my own property in the last few days and see if we strike gold. Stick around. All right, welcome to Shop Night Live here in beautiful Canterbury, New Hampshire. I'm Tom McLaughlin, and that's the camera lady. We welcome you to the shop. It's a great time of year to be in the shop. The days are short, but they're bright sun. So I've been out actually putting in a few hours here and there, getting the last bits of firewood in, and taking care of some ash trees that have died on the property. A lot of you probably already know about this because there was a invasive insect, the emerald ash borer, which I guess it came from Asia, and it just burrowed under the bark of all the ash trees pretty much in the United States and has virtually wiped them all out. So we heard about it first when it was out in the Midwest. And we have a lot of nice ash trees on the property, and one by one, we've just watched them, the bark just fall off, and they die right standing there. And the bugs just work under the bark, so there's no harm to the actual lumber. They don't burrow in and make tunnels, so the wood is fine, but the trees, unfortunately, are dead, which leads to some nice opportunities. You can get some great firewood. Ash makes great firewood. It burns a little faster than, like, say, oak, but it splits beautifully. We all know it from those beautiful Louisville slugger bats. It's got that nice straight grain. Looks a little bit like oak. So I have a bunch on the property, and I thought we would check out and see if we could strike gold and cut into some. So rather than firewood, maybe in some of the parts we can find something that will be useful for a decorative element or some valuable piece in the future. Let me just draw, since I'm such an expert artist.
This has a little glare on it, this beautiful thing.
I'm gonna turn it like that. Is that better?
Okay, I'll move.
How's that?
I move, you go ahead.
How's that?
Better.
Okay. All right, I just want to draw pretty much the fork of a tree. So let's just say the tree's going up like that. And we've all seen, like, well, you might have a beautiful stump coming up and then the tree will fork, or everywhere it forks for a branch too. So this is, well, the fork in the tree. And have you ever wondered why, with a branch or that could be thousands of pounds going out in that direction, why doesn't it break off over time? Well, the reason it doesn't fall and break off is because underneath the bark is the most sophisticated, complex wood joint that has ever been, right? We talk about the Chinese joinery being intricate and amazing and everything, but the joinery that forms this fork under the surface in most species is unbelievable. It's like the fibers were knit together in the most brilliant, like feather-like pattern. And that knitting together of all those fibers at the fork of the tree produces some extraordinary figure. It's because it's at the fork of the tree, you form a crotch in the tree. The grain is called crotch grain. So it's right where the tree forks, right in this area, you're going to have potentially the more patterned material. So when cutting, you want to kind of cut the tree if you want to try to harvest and find out if there's any good lumber, you can just cut and save the crotches. Like this is thrown away by loggers. They want the long straight sections, here. This is a problem because it doesn't split and it's hard to saw and everything. They just want to get kind of rid of that. If you have another straight section here, they would take that. But this could be gold. All right, so let's check and see if we can find anything good on our property. Now, before we go any further, I want to show you some famous examples of beautiful crotch veneer or crotch figure. It's most commonly seen in furniture throughout history in mahogany. Mahogany grows large and fast, and it's got like this gorgeous, like feathery pattern. Can you see that?
Yeah. You want me to come closer?
Well, you weren't. I didn't know if you were. You didn't change anything. I didn't know if you could see it.
It's difficult because it gets really glary.
Okay, how's that?
That's good.
All right, but anyway, that's pretty good, but this one's kind of got a dark line in it too. They're not all feathery, but that was a nice cover of Fine Woodworking, issue number 111. I've actually made similar tables, been inspired by that, and I've used crotch mahogany quite a lot. Here's some pieces that this could be cut to a beautiful pattern. So normally you would make like this pie-shaped piece like this coming out, and you'd get like these wide feathers. And because I have consecutive layers here, you cut the pieces right above each other and keep them in order, and then you would flip and you book match. So see how I have 6 pieces of this gorgeous
It's beautiful.
crotch mahogany. Isn't that nice? So this doesn't have as dark a line. I really like to find that especially lighter feathery figure. And then you have the dark lines as well, but a nice balance between them is what I'm usually going for. Here's another little cutoff from, I don't know, yeah, that would be also crotch mahogany. So sometimes you see it just on drawer fronts. It makes a beautiful little drawer front if you wanted to just use it like that. So this is the cutoffs from a previous top where we did a sunburst book match top using the crotch mahogany. And one more I want to show you. Using that same mahogany, this is a piece that I made some years ago. It usually hangs on the wall, but I thought you might like to see it. I don't usually show stuff. This is a pier table made. The base is very similar to one in that Fine Points of Furniture book, one of the masterpiece versions. Nice carvings there, and then on the top of the table, you can see that beautiful crotch book-matched veneer. It looks like it's on fire. I mean, it's just so beautiful and random and wild. And it's all because of the way the grain is knit together at the crotch of the tree. What do you need?
Just lean it a little bit towards me. I think that could help. Thank you.
Okay. And here you see that ribbon of the Cuban mahogany that I use so much. And there's solid ebony lines in these edges too. So we will be doing a pier table in the neighborhood and in our courses coming up sometime. So if you're not familiar with the courses, check out epicwoodworking.com. We've got a lot of great courses over there. Love to have you. All right. So the last one I want to show you is just a picture from my friend David Lamb. A lot of you know him. He lives around the corner. He's made tabletops using crotch birch. This is dyed with a black.
Thank you. Perfect. Right
This is dyed with a black to create he calls it a black ice effect. And I actually sprayed that black on here with him in the shop. And we worked that out. But look at all that beautiful feathery figure. It's made to look like that black ice. And this is just from harvesting crotches of birch trees. You see it a lot on early 18th century furniture pieces too, where it's not commercially sawn. So to get it, you have to get it yourself. Get it yourself. I'll get it myself. All right, so what are we after? Well, here's a piece of a little section of the ash trees that are from this property. Now you can see we've got the Y shape that I just talked about. Okay, this has been cut off a little bit, but we had a round here. And so I just cut them like that. Now I've got a nice little section. And you don't want to cut this way, you want to cut across the Y. You're basically going to create two Ys. And why? Because that's where the figure is. So this one, wow. Check that out. This one had a nice little treasure. I almost feel like I'm opening like oysters and looking for pearls, you know? Any kind of, you never really know what you're going to get in there. You never really know what you're going to get.
Oh, goodness.
It's like a box of chocolates. All right, so this is just beautifully feathered here, and I split this on the log splitter. That's why I got a big gouge there. It'd be better to saw it if you want to save more. So I just was splitting, and I thought, oh, I got to check this out. It wasn't big enough for what I was thinking. So the tree that came down was so big that I had to really do some work on it, and there were probably 4 or 5 good-sized crotches on this tree. One of the things that came to mind is ash is often used for electric guitar bodies, believe it or not. It's, I guess, I read that they say it adds to the sound. It has a certain hardness and ring quality with it. However, I've also watched videos where they say the wood virtually is meaningless when you have the pickups and all that. But that's an argument for another day. Regardless, swamp ash or whatever, you can find blanks on the guitar websites and whatnot. Just search like guitar bodies and you're going to find swamp ash. And usually it's glued up. But it occurred to me, wouldn't it be cool if I could get out some blanks and they were 2 inches thick, but there was a crotch figure on it. Maybe we'll luck out, right? So we need some large enough for that. You also, what else could we make out of it if we get something? I guess we're counting our chickens before they hatch here, but we could make charcuterie boards or something like that, right? All right, so what do I got? Well,
before you go, can we ask a couple questions around what you've been
talking
about?
Sure.
Just a couple.
Yeah.
Scott's question is, how does the wood move with moisture and temperature? I'm assuming inside the crotch, maybe he's saying, is that a challenge?
That is a concern, like in the solid wood. I have thought about that. I was thinking about that if you made it into the body of a guitar, you know. All those versions I showed you on the furniture are veneer. So it's challenging. When veneer is sawn in the crotch figure, it usually bubbles and doesn't stay flat, and you have to flatten it before you can use it. But that just takes away any movement. But when you're going to use it as a solid, like I was talking about here, guitar bodies are 1 3/4 inches thick. So I was thinking you could probably get away with it. And the first test, I was thinking of making one for myself. So not that I can play guitar. I'm just always want to play guitar person. I'm a little...
You're growing.
I'm growing.
It's
very
happening.
slow.
It
Yeah.
is.
So anyway, this is what we're going to go for. And I think with the crotch on a solid body like this, it won't matter. The movement will be very subtle. Once it's dry, right? I want that thing really bone dry before I cut it to thickness and all that. So yeah, that's an issue.
Okay, one more and then we'll move on.
Mm-hmm.
Evan's asking, does the large pores of ash impact how it will finish out?
Sure, yeah. I mean, ash is similar to oak. I don't think the pores are quite as open, but yeah, it's an open grain wood. But in the crotch area itself, that is very dense, and it's almost like you've got end grains going every direction. So that barely needs filling. And over here, you're more into the quarter sawn. But this is a smaller piece, so I'm not sure. I could use this for something smaller, but I just wanted to cut that open, and that's for our demonstration, how you find it and use it. All right, so maybe we'll get something, and then I can dry it, and in a year or two, make a guitar out of it. All right, so I want to show you some of the large pieces that I cut, and come on over here. I'm going to go around this little light stand. All right, so, and I do want to cut some on the bandsaw. Look at these. This is, here's some blanks. This is 24, 25 inches high. And you can see I had to do some prep because I couldn't pick them up. But it's 24 or 5 inches high, and width is right about 13, 14. Now, guitar bodies are usually 13, so I might not get one out of this. That's okay. But then I got this other honking piece that's more like closer to 15 and 27 high. But you can see I've already, this is the side of the crotch, so the tree was branching out this way. I had to cut down to get it to a flat edge so I could then cut it on the bandsaw. Same over here, bigger, rounder. But look at how this is, and it's like this bulbed out figure is telling you that's where it's knit together in there, right? So if we cut across here, we could have something. Now, I didn't want to start with a round on the bandsaw, so I then took my chainsaw and I went this way. So I was in the chainsaw mode. That's why I got my lumberjack shirt on. You guys like that? I usually wear the black shirts.
It's been mentioned.
It's been mentioned?
Yes, it has.
It was nicely given to me by Carhartt. Carhartt's not a sponsor, but I did reach out to them. I love their clothes, and they sent me some, thankfully. But I've got...
Great clothes, we should mention.
Yeah, so I took my chainsaw and I just cut down and split it. So we're actually going to get a preview of what we might have here. Ready? Ready? Here we go.
Like the 10 Commandments, somebody said.
Ta-da!
Oh, God.
What a bummer.
Boring.
You know what that is? That's actually one of the things you don't want to find when you open up these large crotches. This is called a bark inclusion. So you can see the bark actually, like almost rounded, is buried and captured in there. So it's included in the wood, and it messes it up, right? Yeah. So some of them you find that, and you can almost see from the top, if you just looked at the top, you could see the bark in there, but you can't really tell if it's going to be included like that. Now, I'm going to make one saw cut on this. I'm going to saw it because when I took my cut here, I was a little off. It was almost dead flat, but I took the piece and then I jointed this edge with this side against the fence. So I'll be able to cut this on the bandsaw. Now, I've already set up the saw. I've got the bandsaw. This is a nice resaw blade on here. If you had a big Hitachi dedicated resaw with a honking, that would be great. But this has a 1-inch blade on here with 2 teeth per inch. So it's pretty aggressive. And I've set the fence at 2.5 inches wide. This is the Felder 510, FB 510, if anybody's interested in that. It's a pretty stout saw. I like it for resawing like this. I usually have a 3/4 inch, 3 teeth per inch on there, but switched it out because we've got some hard sawing to do. I mean, I brought the fence up to over 15 inches so we could accommodate. Okay, so I'm going to turn everything on and I'm going to lift that up and just cut a slab like that. Now normally I'd go closer to 2, but I'm going to go 2.5 to try to correct the little bit of a twist I have on the main face. And you know, if you want to make charcuterie boards, you can resaw it again into 1 inch thick and you'll be good to go. So here we go. Let's see what we got. All right. I want to reveal, maybe we lost, maybe that inclusion wasn't going. We don't really know. Let's put it back on the, whoops. There's the inclusion. It split it, right? So I guess that's our answer. It goes further. Look at that. That bark is actually totally buried in the tree. But now it's getting interesting here. I have a feeling if I made another cut, it's going to go away. But maybe not. Look at that, though. It's pretty crazy. It's like a zipper. All right, so this didn't work, but you know what? You could cut a straight line here and there, dress this material and glue it up, and it looks like a pretty sweet book match, doesn't it? I mean, look at that. You get kind of a cool look there. You'd have the V shape, but you're starting to see that. But that's kind of a dud, right? Imagine it goes all the way through. You're probably not going to get much out of this. I'll cut the rest of it later. But in the interest of time, I'm going to go to another one, and we'll see what we get. So let's put this
Good try.
beast down. Thanks. Good try. All right, so let's go to our second one, and this one's heavier, so hope I don't hurt myself. But let's bring it over. Okay, so let's check this out. Now, again, I had to cut off the limbs where the Y was going out, and then made a chainsaw cut to check it out. And this is the moment of truth, you know? What do you got? Is it going to be worth resawing? And let's look at this one. Whoa! Look at that. Look at that stitch. Beautiful, feathery. And then it actually turns almost like spalted. You got this white, but it's still existing there. And this, with the amount, this huge bulge right here, and how thick this is, I bet there's some really decent cuts here. So what we're going to do is make another. We'll do the 2.5 inch cut again, and we'll see what exists around there. Now, isn't that great when you come, this one has no bark inclusion. So that was a relief. But I can see that beautiful kind of feathery fountain. Like, I don't think you can see it, but we'll put some water on it when we make this cut, and hopefully we'll be able to see something. It's going to be a little lighter then too. All right, this is a little wider too. So we're going to test the max of this bandsaw. Let's check it out. Okay. All right, let's see what we got. This is kind of exciting. We get any treasure? Oh, look at that. That's some wild figure right there.
Oh, cool.
Isn't that sweet? Now I've got a nice flat platform here. Wow, look at that. See, this is showing you that fountain area. That's that center area. And then you go out that way, usually. But isn't that awesome? Let's put some water on it, see what it looks like. That'll make it pop a little bit.
Nice.
That first one, I ended up a little thin here, but I could resaw that. I've got a little crack here, so that's not a problem. That's the main body of it. All right, let's check it out. Would you believe I have a larger one out there?
Remind us, it's a 1-inch blade with 2 teeth per inch? Did you
Yes.
say? Okay.
Yeah. But you can use others. Wow, look at that. Are you seeing it like I'm seeing it?
I think so.
I don't know, but
What are you seeing that I might not
I mean, it's just, are you seeing the bright kind of featheriness to it?
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. You got two different colors. You know, you got that lighter kind of almost reddish, pinkish here. That these
White.
almost like, and then you have this gorgeous, like, look at that warm brown, golden texture there. So after I cut these, I'm going to cut all these slabs tomorrow probably and see what we got, and I'll set them aside. I'll show you some other time. Let's bring this over to the bench though.
So Tom, I might have misunderstood. I think the curiosity is what kind of blade it is in terms of maker, I guess.
Oh, I just get it from Suffolk Machinery. They're Timberwolf blades, so it's I believe it's like a spring steel. It's not a carbide tip. You can spend like $300 and get one of those, $200 to $300, I think, and get a beautiful resaw if you want to do a lot of it. That's carbide. But all right, let's put this up here. So we can think about how our guitar might, if we wanted to do a guitar, maybe you want to do it this way or like that. But when you're trying to see something like that, you actually want the negative of that space. So I cut a little piece out, and this is the way you would handle it if you were trying to pat it. I'm going to lay this flat so I can look at it.
Cool.
Actually, I like kind of the way it's going out like this, almost like the flying V. Maybe that's what you have to do, is make one of those guitars instead. So you can kind of see what we might get. Pretty sweet,
Cool.
huh?
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But the fret
I
would have
mean-
to be like right in the middle of that, right? Unless, oh, you're talking about the back?
No, this would be the face. Yeah, you have your pickups would be in here, but this would be, you know, below the bridge, you have the most exposed area. So I'd try to put the most beautiful material. The pickups would pick it up, would be here, but then look, you got that nice kind of ash body, and it would be definitely a one of a kind.
So can you kind of talked about this earlier, but Tom's asking how stable would that be for a guitar body? Not a laminated top, though.
Like I said, at that thickness, I would be comfortable with it. I think once it dries, all of the stresses and whatnot at that thickness will be kind of settled. Okay? Then you're going to shape it and whatever, but the main movement is going to be here in the middle. You're going to have some movement as it dries. So I would cut it to rough thickness. And, you know, most guitar bodies like this, if you chose it for a guitar, are going to be 1 3/4 thick at the end in the thickest spot. So you want at least 2 inches to dry. But there's so many things you can do with it. If you're going to do charcuterie boards, wouldn't that make an amazing charcuterie board? Just think that way you're not limited by the shape. You can totally cut them whatever shape you want. We did a video before on making charcuterie boards out of spalted maple. So we attached to that video, right?
It's in the description below. You'll see the link to that, as well as milling, one we did on milling.
Rare woods, where I showed some other techniques for milling round logs, like without getting them flat like this. You know, smaller pieces to cut up. So check that one out too if you're into this.
Abu's curious if you could guess on the moisture content of that.
Well, it was just freshly cut, but it's been dead. So I could tell it wasn't full. Like they say, most trees cut when they're fresh are like 35% water. And then they start to dry almost immediately, but then you want to get it down to like 8%, you know, 6 to 8% dried, like kiln dried. But I don't know, I would say it's over 20. Anyway, just given how heavy it is, you know, once this dries, it will be significantly lighter. So that's a pretty good start. But as I go through this, I bet you there's little pockets, you know, like that mother lode vein where you're going to find that real nugget that's going to be really special. So that's kind of the fun of wood, the variety. And isn't that amazing? The most complex, strongest wood joint isn't even man-made. There it is, knit together. All right. Well, if you enjoyed this content, please consider liking, subscribing, of course.
Sharing.
Commenting. And also check out epicwoodworking.com. That's where really, if this strikes you and you want to go deeper in your woodworking experience, check out Epic Woodworking. We've got some great classes for any level, and there's a great community over there too. So we'd love to have you over there. But we're just glad you hung out with us tonight too. Sure. And so on behalf of the camera lady and myself, we thank you for being here, and we look forward to seeing you next time right here on Shop Night Live. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Go cut some trees.
So enjoy being with y'all. Have a good night.